Hello everyone, it's Steph Norbury here from CoinUp Community, back after a few weeks and with one working eye. So good to see you out of that. And I've got a very friendly face with me this week. I've got James Miller, who you know as the president of Bacta and the founder and CEO of FunStation. How are you, James?
I'm very well. I'm very well, and it's great to see you. I'm going to not try to include too many patches and puns and all of that, but it's lovely to see you. Lovely to see you recovering from your ordeal.
Thank you
And
very
to
much.
see you on the
Thank you very much indeed. So, James, I think, what is it that the Chinese say? It's a curse. May you live in interesting times. Mm.
Yeah. I'm
What
not sure
in,
it was the Chinese. I'm not sure it was actually the Chinese that said that. I think it was attributed to somebody else, but I can't remember it now.
well, there you
Uh,
go. There you go.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to say it's the Chinese. And so, what a year to be president of BACTA then.
Yes. Yeah.
Really?
If anybody had, if I've just had a conversation on the phone actually, and if anybody had told you, this is what would happen, you're going to close in March and you're not going to reopen some of your locations till August, the end of August, you just think they'd gone mad. Nobody could make this up.
Yeah.
It's just, well, it's unprecedented, isn't it? It's just like a bad dream.
It certainly is. And I think I'd speak for most in the industry to say how grateful we are that you have been, at the helm of BACTA alongside
Well,
John at such a difficult time.
it's very nice of you to say so. I think that it is. There's a full team behind Bacta,
Yeah,
and everybody has been shoulder to the wheel and support for the membership. Bacta is only as good as its members, and that's certainly what's encouraged me to become more involved with Bacta as we've gone forward.
yeah,
And I think that everybody has worked tirelessly
mm,
for a common goal, which was really the safety and sustainability of an industry. I mean, the timing couldn't have been any worse, just especially for the seasides. Just as you get to March, you have to close and lock down, and you don't open again till, well, as in England in July, but as in Scotland, end of August, and you just couldn't make it up.
no, you couldn't. And of course, your role there at BACTA, you're running that alongside your own business and all of your locations. And you've only just opened your Scottish locations this week. So that must have been really, really challenging for you.
Yes, I'll be honest with you, it has. But when you take on the role as president, you take on the role, and I suppose you have to take on the roles with it, as it comes. And it was difficult managing time sometimes, but it certainly hasn't been easy, and I didn't want anybody to think I haven't shirked in my responsibility to them in the role and from my peers, as well as everybody else in Back to the Division chairs. Everybody's give it 100%, and the time spent lobbying on the phone, Zoom calls like this with ministers, and being quite open and very frank, really, to try and get the point across, I think was very, very important.
Yes.
Uh, it's not always been a great success, but we've got there in the end. And I don't think we would have got anywhere near it without the collective benefit of BACTA and the members' support. I think it was Nigel Huddleston, the current Minister of DCMS, he said on a Zoom call with him, he was quite surprised and at the actual lobbying power of BACTA. And
Yes.
he rightly said, don't, really did surprise him when the
Yeah.
members get
I think
motivated.
as
It's great stuff.
John White's often said, BACTA as a trade association punches way above its weight.
Absolutely, yeah, I've seen that for myself. I've absolutely seen that for myself
Yeah.
many a times.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that we saw obviously at times, such as the AGC in England situation where we had the false start there, that probably due to our members, back to members, uh, really taking to their writing to their MPs, contacting their MPs, in such numbers and in such force that likely we opened the whole of the English sector really quicker than we probably expected we would have done.
Well, it wasn't quicker than we would have done because we got put back,
Well,
didn't we? Really?
I mean, with the FECs as well. I mean, you know, in general,
No,
I thought that
well,
that might have been the case.
I think there were a lot of concerns from the government, and we did spend a lot of time liaising with the DCMS and the drafts for the guidance to get that approved. And that was incredibly challenging. And there was, you know, you only see the tip of the iceberg for the effort that's gone in through BACTA and John as well, and everybody. Some, you know, very 11th hour emails. I can recall getting one where from a senior civil servant in DCMS saying the minister is very concerned at the recycling of 2p coins on penny falls. You know, this is the Friday before we're supposed to reopen FECs in the UK after the first delay. And you think, crikey, you know, you've got to reassure and relay that and give them some clarity, which thankfully we were able to do. But you don't anticipate getting an email like that, you know, the morning of the day before you're supposed to be reopening for the second time.
Yeah, no, exactly. Must have felt like a huge responsibility, not only for your own business and your own staff, but for everybody else that you were representing in the industry.
Yes, I suppose so, really. I suppose so. But I think because you're in that situation yourself, you are able to relay the concerns and problems. You know exactly what the members are going through right across the country. And I don't mean to presume anybody in particular, but when you're in the same boat, you paddle just as hard as everybody else.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And I was just very blunt in what people were going through.
Mm-hmm. And as for your own business, how are the Scottish Arcades managing now since they've opened? Schools are back already over there, so it must be a bit of a...
Yeah, schools go back a lot earlier.
Yeah.
I think last week they went back to school in Scotland. We have two locations in Scotland, one in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow. We've been up there for 15 years in Glasgow. So we only reopened on Monday, and the kids have gone back to school. So we're inland, where other people like Joseph Cullis, who's the Scottish chair of the region, he's done an incredible job getting involved and getting Scottish reopen again.
Yeah.
He's just non-stop, Joseph. I have to really credit where credit's due. He's been great for BACTA members in Scotland, including myself. You know, he and John. It's been everywhere. You know, everything has been a battle. It was a battle to get Wales reopened, and you know, through BACTA we have to sign off additional resources for lobbying, and we eventually got there after the delay in England, and then next thing you're on the next front. You know, we've fought this on three fronts really, and we've only just got over the last hurdle of getting Scotland reopened. So it has really been rather than a campaign, rather than an individual battle, and I'm not sure I'd like to go through it again, to be honest with you.
No, absolutely. And people might not be aware that the BACTA Charitable Trust also donated £23,000 in 23 separate donations to seaside communities during lockdown. Now that was quite something as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that was very good. That was at the start of the lockdown, and I think it reiterates the relationship that a lot of regional members have with their community.
Sure.
And right around the country, and it reiterates the, you know, the national geographical contribution of BACTA in all the smaller towns that suffer with, you know, economic regeneration, where, you know, BACTA members are at the heart of these seaside towns, continually reinvesting into that community for the benefit of their own business and the community, and they build relationships with local MPs and local charities. And when you have such a you know, a massive situation as we had with the lockdown and the drama, to be able to give back in such, you know, difficult times to those that really are struggling, and in that community, I think is a marvellous thing to do. And we, through Back to Charitable Trust, and following on from our Save the Seaside campaign from last year, reach out to a lot of the MPs that were very supportive of that and recognise the effort and investment that Back to members put in. That we were able to reach out to them and make 23 separate donations of £1,000 each to a full range of charities around the country, and I think that speaks volumes for the amusement industry in general, Back to members in general, and their responsible approach, and it's been widely recognised and welcomed.
It really. I know I've seen some of the tweets from MPs from the charities. Supporting, for example, hospices where people have suffered from great loneliness at this time. They can't see their families. Supporting refuges for people who've been, suffering from domestic abuse. I mean, £1,000 might not seem like a great amount, but it's made a massive difference to some of these charities. And so what a brilliant message for our industry to give out. You mentioned the Save Our Seaside campaign that we just launched. We did, I think, Siding with the Seaside last year, and now we're Save Our Seaside. And can you explain a little bit about what the scope of that's going to be?
Well, as you quite rightly said and corrected me, I got my S's wrong. It was Siding with the Seaside last year, and now it's Save the Seaside, and that was a great success with the integration and how we were able to reiterate the economic contribution that the industry makes. And every opportunity I have with an MP or a civil servant, I drive that home. And it is being recognised. It is definitely being recognised. Yeah. So obviously last year we were all in different circumstances, and it was Siding with the Seaside. And now, as we've gone forward into these unfortunate circumstances, it's now a fight for survival. First it was a fight to get open, and now it's a fight for survival. And one of our bigger asks, and again, quite frank conversations with DCMS, is that the seaside amusement sector should be entitled to 5% VAT, as it has with its 5% MGD. It just brings it all in line with MGD and all other seaside seasonal tourism businesses, and that's a key ask, because we're seasonal businesses, and we need to survive. You've heard the phrase 3 winters from the British Tourist Association, and there's no understatement.
No.
And we said that these businesses, in comparison, when you've got other businesses in tourism and such hospitality benefiting from 5% VAT, and then the restaurant industry have got a second subsidised income with the Help Out to Eat Out. But here, the seasonal seaside amusement arcade hasn't even got the first one. Yes, we've got the race relief, but what we need is light at the end of the tunnel. We need, incentives, not handouts. We need to know we can do that, and we need to know we can survive. So, Saving the Seaside is really pushing that point